Do you know how embarrassed I was to get booked in a county jail? They mashed my fingers down. Tears were rolling out of my eyes because I knew I didn't belong there. Do you know how humiliating it is to have to go and they gonna strip search you? Take off all your clothes, go through your hair. Do you know how humiliating that is? That's all it took for me. That was a moment. And when I look back on it, it's what I had to have. It's a moment that I had to have in my life. I took it to the chin because I had to. But it was the defining moment in my life.
Fear, shame, humiliation. Unfortunately, for many people, like Carla Thomas, who we just listened to, these feelings are often just the beginning. We'll hear more from Carla later in this episode, but let's start with the burden that can come with having a criminal record. Because in America, a criminal record doesn't end when the sentence does. For far too many, it becomes a permanent barrier to housing, education, opportunity, and especially employment. A single mistake can impede a life so much that it's near impossible to get back on track. But it doesn't have to be that way. I'm Franny Lazarus, and you're listening to Now at Ohio State. We talk with researchers, innovators, and bold thinkers who look at our world, see what the real challenges are, and create the solutions that people need now. Every year, millions of Americans finish their time in the justice system, only to find themselves trapped by it all over again. Even if they have the skills, the drive, and a want to work, a criminal record can bar someone from jobs they're fully qualified for. And employers may not take the time to consider the full story. That's where people like Ohio State's Doug Berman and Hannah Miller step in. Berman is the Newton D. Baker and Hostetler Chair in Law and Executive Director of the Drug Enforcement and Policy Center at The Ohio State University Moritz College of Law. Berman's principal teaching and research focus is in criminal law and criminal sentencing. Miller is a project manager of the Drug Enforcement and Policy Center at the Moritz College of Law. She oversees the technical development and daily operations of Opportunity Port, a digital record sealing platform, and she also provides logistical and administrative support to the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project. Together, they advocate for systems that allow people second chances. They sit down with our Chris Bournet to discuss how a criminal record affects people's lives, the challenges of reentry into society, and how programs like Opportunity Port are working to positively change the future for so many.
Doug, Hannah, I appreciate you taking the time to speak about this topic and for taking time to share your expertise.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. So, Doug, can you kind of explain how the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project works and Ohio State's involvement in the program?
We have some special criteria and then sort of special help in the process that's part of being accepted into the Governor's Expedited Pardon Program. The whole goal of the program is to identify cases that look like they can be fast-tracked, that they're really good candidates, and then once you've applied and been accepted into EPP, that means you're going to be getting free legal representation and a kind of fast-track calendar, ideally getting a board hearing quicker, getting hopefully a positive recommendation from the board, and then getting to the governor's desk so that you can get the pardon on a faster basis than the usual process. And OSU is involved in kind of every aspect. We were the first that the governor and his staff reached out to help set up the program, which took a lot of coordinating among a number of different government and university players. And then ultimately, we play a role along with the University of Akron in screening applicants to make sure they fit the criteria, that they're good candidates for this fast-track pardon approach. We also help with project administration, data collection, and the like. And then ultimately, we have a staff attorney, and then there are other attorneys around the state working at the University of Akron, working in other places to help directly serve the client. And we've been playing an active role in trying to encourage other universities and other players to go along with the process so that we can have as many people who are eligible work their way through up to the governor's desk as quickly as possible.
So, Hannah, can you explain how Opportunity Port works and what is Ohio State's role in administering the platform?
So Opportunity Port is a legal assistance program for Ohioans with Ohio criminal records who need help with sealing and expungement applications. Some research shows that 1 in 3 adults in the U.S. has a criminal record, and a criminal record includes convictions, dismissals, arrests. And over the last decade, the list of criminal offenses that can be sealed or expunged in Ohio has grown, but so too has the number of criminal cases processed in Ohio courts. To a prospective client of Opportunity Port, it's just a website, but for service providers, it's a bespoke digital tool that enables attorneys to more efficiently meet the growing need for record sealing and expungement application assistance. You'd be hard-pressed to find a company that doesn't run background checks, right? Most of them do, and the result is a chronically underemployed population. So sealing and expungement is a very effective way to improve a person's economic mobility. And that's because you're more likely to be considered for a job if you don't have a criminal record. It's also a very effective means to improve public safety. A person whose records are sealed or expunged are less likely to be rearrested. We're kind of ticking all the boxes here in terms of why sealing and expungement is important.
So, and I understand that some people use the terms sealing and expungement interchangeably, and that's not accurate. Could you kind of explain the difference and what are the benefits of both?
They're similar in that they remove a record from public view. They're different in terms of who can see the record. And Ohio law lays out who can see the case if it's sealed and who can see it if it's expunged. Sealing a case is like putting the case file in a safe where the case still exists, but only those with the combination to the safe can open it. For expunged cases, it's an even shorter list of people who have the combination to that safe. In fact, if you're not on that list, you're none the wiser. That case doesn't exist. Expungement is the gold standard for record relief. Sealing is the second best thing. Both will prevent, a private background screening company, for instance, from including your record on their report for an employer.
The distinction between record sealing and expungement just captures one challenge in this entire record relief space, which is just that it's incredibly legally complicated. Been a lawyer for decades, been a law professor for decades, and when you come into this field and you just see both how the law is changing, often for the better, making more people eligible, but then the particulars of the rules of what they're eligible for, what the specific impact of a different kind of relief, and that's true in the pardon space as well, that itself can be often overwhelming to a potential client, even if they fit the criteria. Again, the record sealing and expungement requires you to go back to court. That can be daunting as well. And so one of the barriers that I know I certainly didn't appreciate when I first started working in this space is not just how legally complicated this is, but that without the help of a lawyer and ultimately an experienced lawyer, it can be just so challenging to even know what possible paths are out there for different individuals, and especially knowing what they're looking to get help with. Is it housing? Is it employment? Is it all of the above? That can often influence both how lawyers can effectively advise clients and then also how they go forward with different plans. And so, it's again something that I think most folks don't really understand. You hear the terms, you think, either that's good or bad or it's easy or not easy, and it's just so much more intricate and has so many different layers to it.
So to kind of put the issue into perspective, can you kind of give us a ballpark estimate of how many people in Ohio have a criminal record?
Yeah, so if 1 in 3 American adults has a criminal record, that's about 70 million, so that's 30%. So if you apply 30-ish% to the Ohio population of adults, which is a little north of 9 million, then you're looking at about 3 million adults in Ohio have a criminal record.
What are some of the reasons that applicants apply for pardons?
I think the applicants for pardons, also for record relief, are the same arena that involve the wide array of barriers that people who have a criminal record face in our society. And that really runs the gamut. So employment is some of the most common indications of what folks come saying they can't get a particular job or aren't going to have access to certain possibilities in their existing employment because of their record. Housing, there's also barriers to having access to different housing opportunities, higher education, volunteer work even often that will have record checks or other ways in which persons are concerned that their background would prevent them from having access to participating in the community that way. And one of the things that I always notice and we see in the applications, there often are clients who just want their family members, often their kids, to see that the state is prepared to formally recognize their redemption after they had criminal justice involvement in the past. And you see this wide range of very tangible things, but also just about individuals who have really contributed back to the community after perhaps just a couple unfortunate encounters in their past, kind of wanting that not just highlighted, but sort of formalized by the recognition of a pardon. And those are the folks that usually are quite motivated to do the work to make their chances the best they can be.
How many people have benefited from these programs so far?
So with the Expedited Pardon Project, we've had well over 1,000 folks apply for the program, and to date we've had almost 200 make it all the way through and get pardons from the governor, and that's been moving at a steadier clip in more recent years as the program's gotten fully developed. We have a couple hundred at least that are kind of in stage, right? So it takes a little while from application to getting a board hearing, getting a recommendation, and getting to the governor's desk. We've really had hundreds sort of move through the process already, get a pardon, and hundreds more that are kind of seemingly in track. And then some of the folks who haven't been eligible in an initial application, sometimes they just need some more community service, or there are some other criteria, a little bit longer wait time for them to fit the program. And so there's a lot of fluidity in sort of where the numbers are at any one point. But we have been particularly pleased that over the last couple of years, as the program's gotten more developed, we're getting more and more cases in front of the governor, and he's granting more and more pardons.
For Opportunity Port, we started out in Franklin County, only helping Franklin County residents who have Franklin County offenses at either the Common Pleas Court or the Municipal Court. And then we expanded the program statewide at the beginning of 2024. For Franklin County operations, we have assisted over 600 people with filing applications to either of those courts, and over 90% of those applications have been granted. For statewide operations, we don't have numbers on outcomes yet because it's still very new, but I can say that we have assisted well over 250 people living outside of Franklin County who have cases in courts in all of the other 87 counties. So I think that our staff attorney, Michael, has probably reviewed thousands of cases for eligibility and has produced more than 250 applications, because you need an application for each court. And some people have cases at multiple courts. So I would say he's probably completed over 1,000 applications and has become painfully familiar with a lot of these legal systems.
So when it comes to applying for pardons, what are some of the eligibility requirements?
The key requirements for the Expedited Pardon Program is that we require 10 full years. The governor requires 10 full years without any criminal justice involvement since completing all requirements of their last sentence or conviction. And that may seem like a long time. In some sense, it is a long time. It's one way that pardons are, through the EPP, going to be more challenging than other forms of record relief, which don't always have that kind of wait period. But the key is that period the governor identified as sort of already showcasing contributions back to the community and ability to stay law-abiding for an extended period of time. We also look for, it's a requirement that there's some community service, giving back to the community as one way to kind of redeem a prior law breaking, and then having a sound reason to seek the pardon. That's something that's important both for the program to make sure the person's motivated for the right reasons and understands what a pardon can achieve and what, a pardon can achieve to some degree. And so those are the main criteria, which really aren't that limiting for the vast majority of folks who may have a long ago criminal record. There's no limit on the number of convictions that one could have if it's been a long time before. And so we've actually had some applicants who have succeeded with literally a dozen or more prior convictions when maybe those were all associated at a youthful time when there was drug involvement or other sorts of things, and none were that serious, and then they've gotten their life turned around. Fundamentally, it's important to understand that our program is not about relitigating the prior convictions too, and so we'll have some folks who say they were innocent, and that's why they should get a pardon. Again, a great argument, but one that the traditional process is for. We're looking for identifying folks who admit that what they did was wrong, are remorseful about it, and are moving forward with their lives, and now we're looking to have that validated by a pardon. And those are the ideal clients, and those are the criteria that we look for bringing them into the program, and then getting the free legal help and all the other resources that come with working with EPP as a formal program.
For sealing and expungement, it's a much quicker remedy in terms of how long you need to wait. So sealing is, you're eligible for sealing before you'd be eligible for expungement, assuming you have a case that is eligible and the offense is eligible. And the list of eligible offenses also can be found in Ohio law, and there are some cheat sheets that organizations have put together and put out there. Dismissed cases, I just want to put this out there, dismissed cases are eligible immediately. assuming that you have no pending matters and you're not on probation for something else. If you go into court and something gets dismissed, you can have that sealed or expunged. There's no difference in that wait period for that relief. But a lot of people just don't know about it. And so they end up waiting 10 plus years to do anything about their record. And it could be that the laws were more restrictive in terms of what was eligible. But we do see a lot of people come through the Expedited Pardon Project that after we review their intake packet and their application, they get sent to Opportunity Port because they're eligible right now for expungement. They don't need to go through EPP. So let's get their expungement application completed and submitted to the court, because that'll be much quicker than going through the Expedited Pardon Project, which expedited is not a misnomer. It's much quicker compared to the traditional process, but it's also not as quick as going through the courts for sealing or expungement.
Doug and Hannah, thanks again for taking the time to share your expertise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
The legal landscape is one part of this story. The personal journey, though, that's something else entirely, because even with policy changes, even with support, many people still need someone willing to walk through the fire and come out the other side with them. Carla Thomas, who we heard from before, is one of those people. Thomas is now a senior admissions advisor for Fortis College in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Years ago, she made a mistake during college that resulted in a criminal conviction, a conviction that, despite her achievements and growth, followed her for nearly 2 decades. She eventually received a conditional pardon through the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project, and now she's using her experience to guide others. Here, she speaks with our Chris Bornet about her lowest moments, her journey to forgiveness, and how she's helping others realize the same outcome can be true for them.
Well, Carla, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and for sharing your story. So the people you were with were trying to steal something from a store,
Yes, sir.
and you just kind of got caught up
Just
in
with
it.
them. Yeah, be careful who you with. I talk to high school students about it all the time. Be careful who your friends are. I was in college. I had 2 jobs. I was working at the bank and I worked at the University of Akron. Life was good. I wasn't hard up. I'm having a blast. I'm making money. I'm doing my thing. And then you find yourself in a pickle. But that wasn't my first pickle. I was in a couple pickles back to back for being with people that I probably shouldn't have been with. You know better, but your heart wants to choose and do something different. That moment at Rolling Acres Mall when I was 20, that was the pivotal point in my life. My oldest brother would tell me, watch who you hang with. He would always say it, and I would always say, oh, they're fine. They would never do nothing to put me in a bad situation. And just to put it in context, my charge was like aggravated attempted robbery. You would have thought I was in the mall with a gun, about to stick them up, and I'm trying to take all of their stuff. No, I was fighting the mall security. I was leaving because I had no parts of what was going on. And instead of me just sitting down in the back room, no, what did I do? I got up. I'm defiant. This don't have nothing to do with me. I ain't doing it, and I'm leaving. That was my attitude back then, right? Then he pushed me and I swung. That's what it really was. So when you hear aggravated robbery, you think I got a gun and I'm going to stick somebody up. Now, hindsight, looking back, you guys would never even know my name if I had just sat in the chair. I take accountability for the pickle that I was in at Rolling Acres Mall. I was a fighter. But you talking about fighting? That was my thing. Because that's all I knew how to do. And it was very much a defense mechanism. If you hurt me, I lash out. Lashing out, look what that gets you. That got me over 20 years of a black cloud.
And so you didn't end up doing any jail time. It was just something that was on your record.
No, I was on probation for 6 months, and I probably seen a probation officer once. I was in college, and I had 2 jobs. She said, keep doing exactly what it is that you're doing. I literally served 6 months.
Even though you were the poster child for someone who had never had another run-in with the law, your record was totally clean except for that one incident. You still had that black cloud over your head.
Do you know how hard it is to have to check a box? Do you know how hard that is to check a box when you know you're more than qualified for a job? When you know how great you would be at a job and what you can contribute? But because they want to weed so many people out, all they needed to do was check the box. And 70% of those people are gone? That box was the bane of my existence. Here I am. I'm young. I'm educated. Well, I already got 2 strikes against me. I'm Black and I'm a woman. Uh-oh. We already got a problem. Now I'm educated with a master's degree. Ooh, we really got a problem. How do I disqualify her, period? My background. I'm already out. That's the black cloud that was hanging. Do you know how hard it is to feel stuck? Stuck. Some people probably don't know what that's like when you at a job, let's say the boss is talking real crazy to you and you really want to leave. But you know, I can't leave because when I leave from here, I have to go check a box. Who else gonna hire me? That's hard. That's the black cloud that hung over me of knowing what you're capable of, what you qualified to do, but you excluded because it's something you did 15, 10, 20 years ago.
And what was the process of applying for the program? Was it very cumbersome with a lot of paperwork? And did you have to get letters of recommendation? And
this process is arduous. Let's not play games. It's hard. It's tough. Then you have to always rehash everything back. You have to rehash putting yourself back in that time frame from where you were when you think that, okay, I've overcome this. I've grown over this. That's beyond me. It's past me. But now when the student says, I need you to go get all your records for anything that you've ever done, and you like, oh man. And then do you know how long it takes for some people to even get the records to you? However, I was committed to the process because I'm like, this is a lifesaver for me. This can take my black cloud away, right? Because I'm okay in life. I was okay in life, except for that thing. And I call it that thing because that was the thorn in my side. Everything else in my life was great, except for I had that thing. We all have a choice. I had choices. I made them. I stuck with them. But what if you aren't as strong as me? So how many of those people are by the wayside right now? It's too many. Somebody might be listening to me right now that has probably never done anything else in over 25 years, but because they've never even been presented the opportunity, they don't know what this pardon project is. They've never heard of it. But you can turn on the TV and they'll tell you anything about if you have a drug problem, call rehab, right? You have all the commercials for everything else. Where's the commercial for this? This needs to touch everywhere. Do you know how many more lives could be changed because of it? Do you know what this program has done for me?
And what was that moment like when you found out that your record had been expunged and you finally received the pardon? Oh
my gosh, it was only a conditional pardon. And I dropped down on my knees. And all I could scream was, thank you, Jesus.
So what would you say to people who feel like the process is too cumbersome? What would you say to encourage them to, first of all, apply and to keep going when the process becomes really cumbersome?
Chances make champions. Take a chance on you. I'm betting on me every time. I'm betting on me every time. That's the self-belief that you have to have. I know plenty of people who might have a record, but they might have clearance here. Why would I ever do that? That's up to you. I don't want that on my name. Run my name now, and I'll be very honest, shameless plug. I go look up my name all the time, and there's nothing there. And I get a kick out of it. And yes, I still do it because it's a constant reminder. Prove something to you. You don't have to prove anything to anybody else, right? It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Why have a black cloud hanging over you when you don't have to? And yeah, I know somebody else might say, well, it's never stopped me from doing anything, so I don't really care. Yeah, it can though. Have a record and go and try to apply for TSA pre-check. See how it come out for you, right? But you'll say it's not stopping anything, right? It is. It's the small things. You want to go to the gun range? Legally, little things. And if you're setting a legacy for your family, if you're really setting a legacy, for your family? Is the legacy, hey, I know I messed up when I was younger, but hey, I'm good now and life is great now because I've just made some mistakes, but I tried to correct and right my wrongs? Is that the type of legacy that you want to leave for those behind you? Or are you one of those, it is what it is? And anybody out there, if you're in the position and if you have any of the feelings that I ever felt being boxed in, feeling like a cloud is just hanging over you because it's just the one thing that you want gone. But you've been walking this walk, you've been doing your thing, you've been doing well, you've been helping people, you're in the community. Man, go for it. Go for it. You have everything to gain. This changed my life. You know how free I felt when I got that phone call? I don't care what your mom is, what your dad is, what your brothers were. That doesn't mean anything. Who are you? And my name is Carla Deanna Thomas. My name means something to me. And guess what it won't say when you run my name? It won't be a convicted felon. That is great.
Well, Carla, thanks again for taking the time to speak with me and for sharing your story.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm honored. It's a privilege. My prayer is that someone hears this and said, if she can, I can. And if she did, I will. That's my prayer.
There's an old saying, you do the crime, you do the time. But what if you've done the time and society doesn't let you forget the crime? For so many, a criminal record can turn into a life sentence of missed chances. But thankfully, policies are changing, programs are emerging, advocates are appearing. Because let's face it, every single person makes mistakes. It's just a fact of life. But what matters most is what we do next. And sometimes, the most powerful second chances start with someone who says, I see your potential. To learn more about sealing or expunging a criminal record or seeking a pardon through the Ohio Governor's Expedited Pardon Project, visit opportunityport.org or ohioexpeditedpardon.org. Now at Ohio State is produced by the Ohio State University's Office of Marketing and Communications. For more information, visit us at go.osu.edu/now. I'm your host, Franny Lazarus. Thanks for listening.